Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where the walls of domesticity close around us and the film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
Dad. I'm Pete Miller.
I'm Gerald Christopher. Hey, I got my job back, Porter.
And I'm Stephen Ian Badham of former minutes in previous iterations, but also having worked in locations, which is how I originally got in touch with you.
That's right.
Yeah,
You sent us lots of Elstree swag. That was
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, can't get hold of that anymore.
beautiful. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about minute 115. And this is the one that begins with Oxley turning to Indy and saying, Dad, and ends with the wedding of Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenswood. Holy smokes.
Hey,
first of all, minute 115, my old bus route into Birmingham city centre was the 115 bus route, so there you go.
Oh, so you must have felt right at home.
It's fate. Well, I felt right on the bus, yeah.
Well, wasn't Ready Player One filmed in Birmingham?
It was, yes.
Oh,
Lots of Spielberg connections here.
yeah.
Yeah.
He also directed this movie.
I started working on that way back and then left the industry before they started filming it there, so missed my opportunity to meet Spielberg, unfortunately.
Next time.
Another. Yeah.
Next time.
Did you guys know, in this minute, that when Indy tips his hat, that's called a sperm salute?
A sperm salute?
A sperm salute. Like when someone discovers that you're actually a father, and you sort of proud blush tip your hat.
The old boys, they still got
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, what happened?
I mean, it's a very specific thing to have a name for.
Yeah.
A sperm salute. I feel
it
like
requires a number of conditions, doesn't it? First of all, to have to wear a hat.
Yeah, why do you have to wear a hat to be a dad? That doesn't make sense. Or to acknowledge being a dad.
Well, he kind of looks at... So, Pete, is Ox Indy's kid?
I knew one of you was going to say that. Dopes.
I think he has to be because Oxley's not mean-spirited, and if he's not Indy's kid, he's literally just he's just laughing at Mutt's pain. He's like, Dad.
I was wondering this. I was like, who did Oxley think the father was? Having been the sort of surrogate, and did he just never ask?
He knew it wasn't Colin Williams, right? He there was never any idea that Colin Williams was the real dad, right? The guy.
Did he think it was him? Like maybe he thought he was the dad.
Oh, they're gonna have a big fist
fight.
Yeah.
Does Colin Williams know that it's not his? That Mutt's not his?
Well, he's dead, right?
He's dead. So he doesn't know
but so now he knows everything.
Yeah.
Oh, now he knows everything, I guess.
Or knows nothing, depending on your cosmology.
There's also fever dream connection here, which is surprise at being a father.
Oh, yeah.
Or surprise at finding out who the father is.
Yeah.
So the whole dad.
I let you know
somewhere
the way,
Han Solo is thinking of it.
Yeah.
The way Ox turns to Indy and says that, I don't know. It just it's like he's upset to find that.
It's a weird thing for him to realize. I don't know what that does for anything. I don't know why he realizes that right now. It doesn't.
Well, I think it shows that he's back from being crazy.
I guess so. Now he's aware of the people around him. Okay, but I guess because he had that really clear Henry Jones Jr. moment in the forest. For some reason, that made me think that he was really, even though he's nuts, he was still tied into everybody who was around him and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. So
is his surprise that Indy is Mutt's father? Is his surprise that Indy is a father? Full stop.
Or is the surprise that Indy's not his father?
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that at all.
I think he's. Yeah, I think.
But he's got a brother.
He's got a brother.
He just wants to ask Indy something. Is it, Dad? I've been meaning to ask you. Who's that kid over there? He sounds. I gotta say, he sounds exactly like Alex DeLarge in A Clockwork Orange when he comes home. He's like, "Dad, there's a strange man over there, munching on lump chicks of toast."
Well, so
there's a connection. When I was working in theatre, I played Alex the Droog in The Clockwork Orange.
Oh, nice!
Wow.
I thought you looked familiar.
It was in a very small theatrical production, which is very different to the movie, and so different, in fact, that at the end of the script, there is a bit in the script that says, "A lookalike of Stanley Kubrick walks on stage, and all the Droogs beat him up," or something to that.
Oh,
effect.
wow!
Wow.
Reclaiming your story.
Yeah, hated the movie so much.
Wow.
That, decided to write a little thing at the end of the play.
Nice.
Wow. Nice.
I mean, to actually go to the trouble of casting someone who's a Stanley Kubrick lookalike as well.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
So I've got a thing about the next bit here, which is that Indy looks at Marion and then says, "Somewhere your grandpa is laughing."
Yeah.
So is he referring to Marion's grandpa?
He's referring to Abner Ravenwood's dad.
Right.
Oh, I thought he was talking about Mutt's grandpa.
Well,
I assumed that's what the line reading was supposed to be.
It is.
But
weird.
I like the Abner Ravenwood thing. I think that's
Because he looks directly at Marion.
Yeah.
And then says, "Somewhere your grandpa's laughing." But then my question is, if it's referring to Henry Jones Sr., why would he be laughing?
I think
he'd be disappointed, wouldn't he?
I feel like Henry Sr. would be laughing because he was an absent dad, and now he's laughing at Indy like, "It's not so funny when you're the one being called a deadbeat. Hey, son, hey, junior. Like, this your kid's mad at you for not being around. You were mad at me for not being around. Up yours."
Well, I mean, the only in the context, the grandpa is laughing because he finds child abandonment funny. Like that's
yeah.
Like
they all
this
seem
kid just
to.
says, "Why did you abandon me?" And he says, "Oh, your grandpa
They're having
is
a
laughing."
beautiful chuckle.
Yeah.
I know they do heal the wounds of 20 years of abandonment very quickly, don't they?
And speaking of, we're just talking about Oxley and his confusion. Shouldn't he be furious with Indy now? Like, didn't they have a falling out because Indy just ditched Marion, like forgetting about whether there was a kid or not? Like, shouldn't he be like, "Oh my God, not only did you ditch her, but she had a kid and you ditched her kid too"? And like, they should be there should be a knockdown, drag out fight down the side of the hill.
Now I'm gonna caveat everything I say about this minute because I rewatched the movie before this, and we were just talking before we started here. I didn't hate it as much as I did the first time I watched it. I think this is maybe the third time I've seen it, but it did not hold my attention. Whilst I had it on in the background, I cooked dinner and I also did some work.
Oh, how was it?
So there may have been, it was average.
Okay.
So there may have been some minutes here within the whole movie that I just completely missed. Like the Colin Williams, that's a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Missed that little bit.
I mean, if you do it a minute at a time, you get more information about these things. There's a little more light shown on them, but at the same time, you're like, I don't know where that fits. I don't know what that means. So the Colin Williams story is just plain weird.
So it's actually discussed that they fell out in a big way, Oxley and Indiana Jones. I
think Marion has a line like, "Why do you think Oxley stopped talking to you?" or something like that.
Yeah. That's in the sandpit or near around by the sandpit, right?
It's either then or in the truck or something when they're all tied up. I forget.
Okay. I should have paid more attention, but that's Spielberg's fault.
We probably should have too.
Yeah, we work here. We should have been paying attention too.
Yes, but it's been 3-4 years that you've been doing this now. We just looked this up.
I looked into the truck. Okay, I'm going to say this out loud on the air because it's mind-boggling. Okay, now I'll start. Okay, the first episode of Crystal Skull aired on October 7th, 2019. But I have in my notes that we recorded it in November 2018. So somehow the three of us have been working on this cockamamie show. The season
It is currently June of 2022.
It's June of 2022 as we say this. I don't.
There could be. You could hold a full conversation with a child born at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably talk about this. You could probably do a minute.
You could sit them on your knee and say, "So the three podcasters got together and said, let's record real early and get a lot in the can, and then it'll go real smoothly." And then 17 years later, they crawled to the finish line.
We're experiencing our own sun frozen in time Jericho.
You are effectively interdimensional beings.
It feels like it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, so it's okay. So is it fair to say that Abner Ravenwood was also? I guess he wasn't an absentee father, but he was. He
sort of was.
He kept Marion around, but she was like an afterthought. It sounds like
I guess in a way he was like, you know what? I'll be damned if I'm an absentee father. So now we're going to Nepal.
Right.
Yeah. He was
quick,
like,
you're coming with
I'm
me.
Your dad, as long as you do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clean up those glasses.
Okay, I'm glad, Stephen, that you mentioned that because that scene does read very strange. You're like, obviously he's talking about Mutts.
I love the Abner thing.
He's talking about Abner's dad.
Yeah, is he talking about Abner or Abner's dad?
Oh, yeah,
he's talking about Abner's dad. He's like, that's what it is. He's like,
we need to invent a name for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Wow.
So what?
Murgatroyd.
Why does Indy tip his hat when he says, "So you're a dad"? Like I'm dying laughing. He does it, and I'm like, oh, I'm blushing, and I'm embarrassed, and I'm proud, and it's like all.
It's got the air of like life is like, funny. I got the world on a string.
For some reason it had.
That's right. I'm a misogynist.
It just
he's not just a misogynist. He sort of makes this all about him. Like he makes all of Mutt's pain for 20 years about him, and he kind of like, boy, your grandfather be laughing at me now.
Yeah.
There's something in the subsequent minutes of this one that I take real exception to.
Oh, okay.
Which is Indy and Marion and Mutt are all walking down the aisle after the wedding, and Jim Broadbent's character, whose name escapes me.
Charlie Stanforth,
yeah.
He says, "Congratulations, Indy," and just completely blanks the other two entirely.
That's funny.
Well, we're involved as well, you know. In fact, probably in a bigger way than Indy has been over the last 20 years.
It is a union that we just, okay.
Well, speaking of Dean Stanforth, so we see him racing through the halls, and he passes this guy that's painting Henry Jones Jr. Associate Dean on a door.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And what on earth changed between Indy getting fired and having to go to Eastern Europe for being a communist to now? Nothing has changed. Yeah. Nobody would know that.
No. You know what?
And Charlie quitting.
Yeah.
I think that they're now in the University of Leipzig.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That's right. That's where they are.
I've been there. I've been to Leipzig.
By the way, look, I know higher education is competitive, but you discover interdimensional beings, and you're a fucking associate dean.
Maybe he talked them down. He's like, I don't want to be dean. Like I'm assuming his new office is on the ground floor because he's going to be in and out of that window constantly. Like he does not want to be an office desk guy dean of any kind.
But you think of it like you're not the head of SETI. Or NASA. You're the first person to discover aliens. I mean, look, all respect due to the Ooga, they are. Right? Yeah. They are.
But they're not.
But other than
and
that.
he's going to say he is. Yeah. But
he's going to. But you're just.
Jerry, but the thing is, there's no evidence.
That's just it.
That is true. They
took a broom to their footsteps or whatever. Yeah.
And, all right, so hang on. If there's no evidence, then we go back to Pete's question. Which is, so what the hell changed? Why are they rehiring you?
And why did the FBI drop their case?
Yeah.
Well, maybe the whole reason they sacked him wasn't anything to do with that. It was just because he was an absentee father.
He's like his
somewhere
morals
the
clause.
dean is laughing. Yeah.
Well, what? And Charlie gets his job back?
I guess so. Yeah.
Charlie resigned. Charlie resigned.
Maybe there was something where the FBI, like they get back and they have their top men conversation with the FBI and they finally decide that, Bob Ross was right. He's a good guy. He defeated the Ruskies and everything. So, okay, everything's reinstated. We're waving our hands. Everything's back where Charlie gets his job back. You get your name on a door. Everything's cool. You're welcome. You get the chocolate factory and everything.
He's not even an archaeologist. Or he's not even teaching archaeology. He's pushing paper, driving a desk.
Yeah, he's like, when I said to get out of the classroom, I didn't mean just lock yourself in an office. It's even worse, deeper in the school.
Apart from the people that we see in this movie, do any of the authorities in the USA or anywhere else in the world know that the Soviets have been there and have had Indy as their captive guide?
I don't think so.
So why would anybody outside of that small group of people know that he had somehow defeated a Soviet plot and therefore won in favour of those people back?
Right.
Maybe
the Soviets are so good at their job, they come into America, take India away, and then completely destroy part of the world without anybody really knowing.
But think of all the adventures here and all he's discovered and all. Okay, if he had to debrief the FBI or they sat him down to tell us everything, it's like you think he's just going to be like, I mean, is he going to go back and just? I guess he's not in the classroom, but he's this associate dean.
Well, like, what does he tell them? Well, see, there were these people, and their word for gold was the same as their word for knowledge.
Right. Yeah, then Oxley talked to the skull, and then I talked to the skull, but they wouldn't talk to the Russian lady because she was mean.
And my sister was down here.
Watch
in
our
Mexico
teachers, because she said they were all going to
to
take over the teachers with their minds, and we wouldn't even know it. So maybe it
No,
happened
and I
already.
escaped. I found it was really interesting. I found 2 sons on this journey. One is Oxley, and the other is Mutt. Oh, one's named Ox and one's named Mutt. That's great, Indy.
And one's up in the sky, and it does not move. It always hangs at like 4:30.
Yeah.
And hey, this was probably in the previous minute, but I haven't heard that one yet. But what happened to the Uyghurs? Did they just all get wiped out?
We
They all
assume that
got
they are
slaughtered.
the ones that were not shot down were then drowned by the new lake that just appeared.
I found this ancient civilization that they had stockpiled things that the Smithsonian would drool over.
Yeah, and
It's
they
long enough
lovingly,
ago that we can laugh about it.
and they lovingly protected this alien race that then just decided, screw them.
Yep.
Maybe
Thanks.
that was kind of their. I mean, maybe that was their way of sort of kicking Indy upstairs. They're like, you know what? Let's just let Mr. Jones go back, and you know what? We'll make him an associate dean, and he'll be harmless.
It could be a totally honorary thing, and he's and it's totally a cush thing, and he has like a slide out the window that they all know about. Like it's totally, they know he's not going to be there. He's going to be off doing his own thing. 20 years we haven't been able to tie this guy down to any position. Like he just disappears in the middle of the semester. So why fight that? We'll just go with it. Like,
What if
we know
this
you're
is
not
like
going to be around. This is cool.
a Shutter Island scenario, and Indy and Dean Stanforth are now both like in a facility.
Makes about as much sense.
They're trying to keep him from getting violent, so they're pretending that they're.
But Han Solo is already in a facility, isn't he? So
Charlie stopped. He's like, make the letters much bigger. It's a padded white room.
He's scratching.
But also those letters are as big as they can be on that glass door.
That is true. I mean, unless you want to break a line or something.
Glass.
Yeah.
How are they gonna make those letters not just bigger, much bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not possible unless they're just gonna do them diagonally or something.
I mean, what does Charlie's door look like? Is it just like giant block letters just taking up the entire window?
But see, this is sort of all fever dream stuff, because it's like Indy's obviously, like, all of this stuff in this minute is imagined. Like, none of this stuff is possible.
It doesn't make a ton of sense, no.
Yeah, nothing. It's all, Indy gets all of his wish fulfillment. He ends up with Marion.
Yeah.
Gets his name on the door, and everyone's like, oh, the letters aren't big enough.
This is like the part in Total Recall where they're like, okay, either you're in a booby hatch, you're completely crazy, or you got your job back, you met some aliens, you defeated the Russians, you married the woman of your dreams. Which one do you think is true?
How many more movies can we spoil in this minute?
Oh, sorry.
Well, I spoiled Shutter Island.
Well,
right there in the ads and the
seriously,
poster.
you're spoiling movies from 30 years ago.
I think it's okay. Okay, I actually did a touch of research because I was confused. I saw Charlie runs into what turns out to be his office, I guess. He gets out that little Bible, and I'm like, okay, wait. Am I forgetting?
It's not a Bible.
Okay. I learned that from doing my research, Pete. I was, okay, is there some significance to this that I'm forgetting? And so I looked up, I think I typed in like Crystal Skull Wedding Bible or something, and I got the Brody Family Bible. This is from the Indy Wikipedia, the Wikipedia. The Brody Family Bible was a leather-bound copy of the Bible dating back to the same period as the founding of Marshall College. It had belonged for generations to the family of Marcus Brody. It was rumored that Abraham Lincoln had taken the oath of office on this particular Bible. After the bequeath. So they're saying that, but that Bible that they're describing in the novelization, I should say, this is in the novelization. They refer to this, that might be the Bible that Indy opens and shows them the Ark of the Covenant and stuff with the top men. But that's like a huge, massive thing. So I don't think they're like getting married with this thing.
No, you can see the title when he grabs it. It's a Book of Common Prayer.
Right. But that went down another weird rabbit hole because then the minister who's doing the service, and given that Charles Stanforth is seen retrieving the Book of Common Prayer just prior to the wedding, it is likely that the wedding is being conducted as an Episcopal service.
Yeah.
Though it would be unlikely for an Episcopal minister not to have his own Book of Common Prayer, suggesting perhaps that though it is an Episcopal service, the minister is not an Episcopal minister. So there you go. Layers within layers. Oh,
maybe the minister's Jovitos.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
This was my note for that. That's Charlie's wife's diary that details her and Indy's torrid affair.
He's going to read it one last time before going to the wedding.
Okay, so I have a question about this because you now know all of that, having done vast amounts of online research.
It took me about a minute.
Why is the book but why is the book held on in that shot with such significance? Because nobody else knows who that book is.
Yeah. It made me look it up.
But I'm looking at it right now, and unless Charlie Stanforth's hands are like grotesque and malformed, that's not the same book. Like if you
Oh, really?
like I just say that like in terms of like if he's got these like gorilla monkey knuckles or something, the book is a lot larger in the preacher's hands.
Well, maybe this scene has nothing to do with the wedding. Maybe this is a different day. Maybe this is just a scene showing that Dean Stanforth forgets books.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this from a location's perspective. Someone scouted this location. Someone then showed a range of locations that they'd scouted to Spielberg and his team. Mm-hmm. They selected this location, or it's a set build, of course.
Sure.
In which case, it's much more expensive because you have to create the set from scratch.
Yeah.
They lit it. They had all the cast on stage. All the crew on stage. Yeah. They brought Jim Broadbent in to enter the room rather than just it being a hand shot, which could have been anyone. Why go to all of that effort if there's no explanation as to what this is about?
I think he knows why.
All of that is simply so they can have him seeing Indy's name on the door.
God, I think you're right, Pete.
I think the entire reason for that is so you see he walks by and sees that, and then he calls it out.
But
so
you can still do that with him.
Notices.
You could still do that with him running past and then leaving the university and entering the chapel.
It's weird though because you we cut from like the jungle. Everybody's sitting on top of the mountain in the jungle, and then they cut to the school. So I guess you do need a reason to cut then from the school to the wedding, and you wouldn't want to just cut right to the wedding, I guess, because that'd be jarring or something, and you wouldn't set up that Indy has a job and everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, bells start ringing while they're at the top of the mountain and stuff. It's awkward. Yeah.
Speaking of, I would though. You guys have brought up research and locations, and I would like to commend my good friend Gerald Porter, because he researches every facet of these movies. He knows these inside and out. And I just want to say, Gerry, what is it like right now being at the church where they filmed this? Have you talked to the pastor? Have you? Because this church is literally like an 8-minute walk from your house.
Oh my God.
Oh,
right next to the Brady
Bunch.
Wait a
minute.
House.
You know what? That's funny because I was thinking, look, I know that churches are the house of the Lord, but I'm wondering if this is actually Yahweh's house. I mean, did Indy invite the Lord to his wedding?
Yeah, maybe.
Like after Raiders, I wonder if Yahweh said, "I'll tell you what, you're gonna marry that filly from the whole start of the stuff. I remember her." Like, does he actually say, "I'll tell you what, why don't you get married in my house? We'll have a little thing in the backyard too."
But is it a thing where it's like, yeah, that's totally cool, but you don't need to invite Shiva, okay?
Yeah, that's the
I know
thing, though.
you guys
Shiva's
have a
gonna be
deal,
pissed.
but that's going to be awkward.
Shiva's gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm just looking at this scene now. This little scene, the walk into the room. This is not a cheap thing to have filmed. So it's either a set build or it's a location. It's fully dressed. I mean, it's dressed to the hilt. There's books,
it's beautiful.
there's furniture. It's lit beautifully. So they've got some huge lamps outside the windows. Got a little bit of cracked oil going to catch the light coming through. And then there's a dolly push into the desk and into the drawers. Also, this is not a cheap shot to have achieved for the purposes of a segue.
Yeah, like a visual segue of a book that is treated in such a way that you're like, oh, that's the book that I never heard of.
Right?
Wait, I have a question. Is that Charlie's
office?
Is that his office or is that his
Indy's
house?
office?
Is that?
Oh, hang on a minute.
Or is that his house? Is that Charlie's house?
No, it's in the
It's his-
school.
Yes, it will be like his Don's office, I assume, in the
Is it
university.
in?
But
Is it Indy? Wait, look.
hang on, is the significance of this less about the books and something about the photographs?
Yeah, because the photographs
desk.
were there at the beginning of the movie. We talked about that.
Well, those were in Indy's
well, that
house.
was 4 years
that
ago.
was at Indy's.
Yeah, I don't think we've
Yes.
seen this room before.
We've never seen this room before.
This is
Okay.
Charlie's stuff.
All right.
There's probably pictures of Indy and his wife in
Wait,
there.
Pete.
Well, I'm zooming in right now. It's there are three guys
Sorry
on
if you can hear my
camels or
mouse
something.
clicking.
You can't really see clearly what they are. They're just groups of people.
No, and unfortunately, I only had a DVD copy which was being upscaled to my HD TV.
There's a
the picture
fedora,
was
like a
not
gray
good.
fedora, but it's not turned down like Indy's either.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, Pete, where is that church?
That church. I'm not joking. That church is. It's
Studio
at
City.
Colfax and Moore Park in Studio City. Like it's literally like.
Wait,
you could
are
walk
you
there and-
kidding me?
You could walk there and be back before Christy Porter calls in.
That's
It's literally less than a mile from your house.
oh, less than a mile. I pass that church 100 times a day.
It's the
Do a
That's
first
in
remote right now.
Colfax
100
and
of North
times a
Hollywood.
day.
That,
No, it's
that
literally
is-
right next
it
to
is
you.
about 3 blocks from me.
You got to do a man on
That's
the
the
street over there.
inside of that church?
Yeah.
It looks like Cheers on the outside.
Churches
tell
look
you, I
different on
believe-
the inside than they do on the outside, Jerry. Did you know
That is, if I'm not, that's, I believe that's a Unitarian church.
It says First Christian Church of North Hollywood. So
Is that
maybe
what
it
it
is.
says? I
Yeah.
thought it was,
Maybe they changed it.
they
Or
may
maybe that's-
have. No
So check
way.
it out by next episode, Jared.
Yeah. Give us a report.
just
Do an
going
Olive
back a
Garden
bit.
report in front of the
Yeah.
Going back a bit to Jim Broadbent's first appearance in this minute, I'm not convinced I've ever seen Jim Broadbent run in a movie before.
Oh my God. That's an excellent point. Wow.
And maybe Harry Potter, but would that have
Maybe.
been maybe? I can't remember now. He's
That's
usually
amazing.
in movies that don't require much running.
He's an
And
action
he's
star
barely
all of a
running
sudden.
here. Actually,
That's why he didn't get the part for Chariots of Fire.
Wait, are we supposed to think that the book that Charlie pulls out is actually the prayer book that the minister's reading from?
Yes.
I think that's supposed.
Is that
to
what
be
it's
the
supposed? I mean,
segue,
it's
yeah.
clearly not the same book.
I'm
That's all
looking
I'm
at it,
saying.
and I'm going to be honest. I like these rabbit holes and stuff, but I don't see what you're saying with this. I'm looking at
Well,
the.
at least to me, that book that Jim pulls out is like kind of more square.
Maybe it's like a birds and a bees kind of book he's going to give to Indy on his wedding night.
Too
This
late
is
for
how
that,
mud
too.
happened, you dummy. Be careful.
Actually,
You've discussed when Mutt was conceived, right? Was it? Did you
on the
discuss
on the
that
Bantu
3 or
on
4
the-
years ago?
the
Did I mention
Bantu-
that it was 2019 when we started this thing? It's been a while.
I think we yeah.
I think we decided that it was not the Bantu wind. Jerry badly wants it to be the Bantu wind, but I don't think that works out. I don't think it is the Bantu wind.
I mean, that's a bit like everything being retconned in Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Every single scene
Yeah.
linking to something else.
Right.
Not mentioning ObiWan Kenobi.
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they had sex more than that one time.
oh,
Come
really?
on, those
speaking
cute kids.
Speaking of everyone
Rude.
else, can we talk about why there are only like 8 people at this wedding? This
Indy's
is
a jerk.
tiny crowd.
Indy-
I mean, is it? Do people just really dislike him? Like, there's nobody there.
You know what's funny?
Also,
That was the they talked about having like Willie
Like
there
Willie and Sala,
Sala.
and yeah.
And Sala's like, wait, I'm just going to be there for like That shot? No, forget it.
Well, I think that all the people that you do see, that's probably Marion's side.
Yeah.
And then like
even that's tight. It's like 12 people. Like it's
I
like
know.
the first 3 pews, and then the rest of the church is empty.
They all should be from Nepal.
Oh my God.
Or that spice guy. That give him spice.
They're also all dressed in the same color as the church walls.
Yeah.
Which is a weird choice for a wedding.
Yeah.
Was the 50s just beige?
Oh no! Wait, I have a question about what the minister's saying here too, because he says Henry Jones Jr. and Marion Ravenwood. Is she not Marion Williams these days?
Oh,
like I'm not going to get married as
with a.
Well, what happens if your husband dies? And I absolutely forget if they were actually married or not, or maybe we never learned that. But she was going by Marion Williams. Yeah.
Yeah, she's going by Marion Williams.
So let's assume for a second that she was married to Colin Williams and he died, and then she gets remarried. Before she gets remarried, can't she just become Ravenwood again? I don't know how that works.
Maybe they're still on the lam from the FBI, so she's going under a pseudonym. Like this is her AKA.
Marion the Raven Williams. Yeah.
She's a double or triple agent, perhaps.
You know, what I wanted to know is, so she's wearing white.
The nerve on her.
Yeah, I want to know, do you think, Pete, this is for you, is Mutt an immaculate conception? I mean, maybe Indy is like a...
Indy did fall asleep on the Bantu wind.
He fell asleep on the Bantu wind. And what do we have? The famous, Joseph's dream, where the angel comes and visits him.
Do you think God wants to take credit for Mutt?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the grandfather that Indy was talking about. Your grandfather's laughing because he created the universe and it was totally half-assed and he's having a ball.
Maybe was she impregnated when they opened the ark by one of the...
Oh, my God.
Don't look at it.
That's
Don't look
brilliant.
at it.
Don't look at it.
Oh, my God. That's disturbing.
See, maybe Indiana Jones is a Joseph figure.
Well, hang on a minute, because Harrison Ford was a carpenter.
Oh, my God. Holy smokes.
This is...
Oh, my gosh. It's all going up in flames and falling into place at the same time. Man.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Or is it? I don't know.
Maybe Belloc just knew then. Oh, my gosh. There's 3 dudes up at the Ark. They're like the Magi.
And they were filming it.
I know. Come on.
Oh,
those Nazis. Utter creeps.
I've got a few general. Sorry.
No.
No, go ahead.
I've just got a few because, like, this minute, I have to say, this minute was a challenging minute. Although we have managed to talk about it for quite a long time. Yeah. The Bat Minute guys, when they were on, said that they think they had the worst minute of the movie, but I respectfully disagree. But I've got some sort of general points, having listened to your podcast now for over 3.5 years. Like I said, it's a movie that I've actually remembered well. Having only seen it once or twice before. Like, nothing in this movie made me go, "Oh, I don't remember that bit." I actually remembered the whole movie in sequence. And it stuck with me, apparently.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like it the first time I saw it, I didn't hate it so much this time. But I still knew what was coming. So that's something to say about it.
Yeah. That's
it's not a ringing endorsement.
Something to say.
I remembered
about it.
it.
You remembered the movie. It was an experience that you retained.
One of the things that you've been talking about throughout this whole thing was Mac. Ray Winston playing Mac. And it's not a character I like in this film. I do not like the character of Mac. I don't mind Ray Winston's portrayal of it because I don't think it's Ray Winston that's miscast in this. I think Ray Winston is playing the character he was cast to play.
Interesting.
I
think he's doing it well.
Yeah.
I think it's the character that's miscast.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should be some East End wide boy. All right, how's it going? That sort of guy. I think it needed to be some sort of English cad, sort of upper class twit type.
Oh, okay.
Who you wouldn't really associate with as much as a sort of working class Brit watching this movie.
Yeah,
you think,
I like that.
well, how would someone like Ray Winston get to work in the CIA and in the history of the Second World War? People like that weren't given those opportunities to get into the upper ranks.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he's got this pencil moustache and he wears this neckerchief, it speaks to me like they had an idea of this character in their mind that Ray Winstone played either differently or they asked him to play differently as this EastEnder rather than as a sort of hello Jonesy type character.
yeah, with a bowler.
Oh, that would have been fun if you were. Yeah, I'd like.
Yeah. Okay, now I have to ask you, as you're the final Brit guest that we have this season. I've been bemoaning the fact that we got John Hurt here the whole time, and since he kind of got his marbles back in the during the climax, he's had a very Doctor Who kind of air to him. He's got a lot of most of his dialogue is very portal to another dimension, that kind of stuff. And would you have liked to have had that John Hurt throughout the movie instead of like the kind of kooky, squirrely quoting?
I think John Hurt could have played Mac.
That could have been great. Wow, why didn't they just do that? Wow.
Yeah. And then I don't know who.
Or like Mac could even be the Oxley character. Like Mac could be. Yeah, I mean he could be the estranged friend of Indy, who they had a falling out over Marion, like Indy does so often with people.
Can you imagine that sort of upper class character? What Jonesy?
Yeah,
and sort of. You know, being a sort of unruly cad, but more believable as a double agent.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know.
Okay, let's put it this way: who is the most wasted character or actor in this movie? Is it John Hurt? Is it Ray Winstone? Is it Cate Blanchett?
I don't think Cate Blanchett's wasted. I think she eats the scenes. I think she's really good.
You're right. I take it back.
Yeah, but I think definitely John Hurt. John Hurt's capable of so much more than just being literally a puppet in the car, being driven through the jungle.
Oh, Jim Broadbent seems a bit wasted as well.
At least he has a smaller part. He's not being wasted while he's on the screen, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, how about we in our recasting session we cast John Hurt as Mac, and we cast Jim Broadbent as Oxley.
Oh, okay.
And we just pretend that Denham Elliott didn't die.
Yes.
And get him back in.
Oh my gosh. Should we have had in the background of the, or maybe even behind the altar or something, you've got like Mac, the Force Ghost of Mac, of Brody, Wuhan.
Brody would like step in the offering plate and trip all over stuff and like pull the lamp down and there'd be all kinds of clatter on the stage.
Damn it, Marcus.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's a film that kind of doesn't really know what it wants to be, and I think that's visible in the characterizations as well. I kind of want those characters to be something else and played by someone else, and I think that would solve some of the issues that I have with it, especially as a Brit watching it. I just think that, and I'm not putting any of this on Ray Winstone because he did the job he was asked to do and does it well. It's a funny one.
Yeah. How long do we think it'll be before Indy ditches Marion again?
Before the next movie.
They haven't said anything about her being in the next one. So
you think he's gonna climb out the sacristy window?
Yeah.
Coming in through the sacristy window, and hot off the presses here, over the wire sacristy window, wherever she can come in and infiltrate. From Professor Christy Porter, what do you think was in Indy and Marion's wedding vows?
Oh, we don't really get to see that, do we?
No.
Wow. Would they write their own, or would they just go with like the sort of standard?
I think they'd go with the traditional.
You think they go with the traditional one?
I kind of think so too, yeah. Unless they showed it. If it was a part of the movie, then they'd have some beautiful flowy thing that they would both recite.
Don't you think, it would be like, I will be allowed to do whatever I want and escape whenever I want.
Don't tell me what to do. Till death do us part.
So imagine like with Mutt there, it'd be like, you're a real hep cat, daddy-o, and I want to...
Yeah, he gave it a little
Why are they getting married?
So they don't live in sin because it's the 50s? I don't know. That's a good question.
He's 20 years old.
Maybe Marion's just like, I'm allowed to right cross you Every time you walk in the door
Yeah.
and you don't come home for the weekend.
That's my form of hello. Just punching you in the jaw.
Well, is the wedding a mistake? Like, how long has it been since they were reunited? Has it been like 3 days, or has it been a year and a half, or how long has it been?
How long does it take Jim Broadbent to run down a corridor?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And when did he start?
All right. So when
did he start?
Is this
How long
like
does it take to paint that name on the door? Yeah.
When did they decide? They're like, okay, so they sleep on the mountain, right?
Well, then they go to Leipzig, and Indy teaches for 6 or 7 years
They
and gets
go to
tenure, and then he comes back, and then
Yeah.
becomes associate dean.
Wait, do they have any vehicles or anything? When they get out of like Akator, they're like, did the Russians leave any jeeps or anything they can use, or did they all go over cliffs?
Well, everything's water
Well,
at this point too.
Yeah.
But we don't know. We don't know how keep saying Russians, Soviets.
I'm
We
sorry.
don't know how the Soviets.
You're
got,
right. I'm sorry.
We don't know how the Soviets got to Akator anyway, do we? Because they just appear.
Yeah,
Well, they came by.
Mac.
I guess
they
you're
had
right.
those Jeep things. Those
You last see
They
them
had
on
a
the
lot
river.
of trucks and jeeps at one point.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but they went. They abandoned those and
They did.
sort of rappelled down the cliff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And 3 of them were knocked off into the river, a la
They had the duck thing.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah, then at least in the script, they had the duck thing after that because they were driving alongside the river.
After that scene,
Yeah.
in
I don't
the
know.
movie,
Soviets
or-
were?
I don't know if it was in the movie, but it was in the script because when
Oh, you're
Indy
right.
and everybody goes down the waterfalls, they can look over and see the Soviets chasing them
Weird.
Huh.
in the script anyway.
I'm just worried they're not going to get back out of the jungle. I think this really is probably all a dream. They're not in the booby hatch. They're just like dying in the jungle. They're just,
Yeah.
being eaten by a spider or something.
Ants.
Yeah, giant ants.
Always
Or else
Yeah.
this church is in like Iquitos and they're
I like that. Maybe Indy's the associate dean of
like Iquitos.
That's why there's so few people there.
it's like fake Mexico University.
Yeah.
My friend used to say in the 90s we used to talk about all these space and sci-fi films, and he used to say that they were absolutely 100% convinced that Spielberg and Kubrick were government plants, US government plants to prepare the nations of the world for the existence of alien cultures.
Oh,
Okay.
By making all of these space movies. And so this is just another one that feeds into that with more grey aliens.
Yeah. It's preparing us for space jerks. Like
Well, is
interdimensional
this
beings
one-
who really don't care what they destroy in their wake and stuff.
Or is this one just the one to prepare us like it will become so mundane because of this movie? It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Get him over with. Sure. Fine.
They're probably there,
well,
but they're
after
hidden in
the,
the jungle, and it does not matter. Don't worry about it.
After the last few years, we probably need an intervention
Yeah.
anyway. So.
Yeah.
Well, if you are Indiana Jones, where do you go on honeymoon? You know,
Oh.
because you're like, oh, let's go see the beautiful Himalayan mountains, and Marion's gonna be like right across the face. No, I'm never
Yeah.
returning.
Or he's like,
You know?
oh, let's go to Venice. I love Venice. And,
Yeah.
I mean, right
Yeah,
across.
I bet
Why, you
love
little-
Venice, Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venice. He sits there and like, let's go to, where was it? The Sultan? Was it the Sultan of
Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
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 Is that where it's like, no, I don't want to go there.
Nah, I got no.
Go on a nice
No, I wanna
cruise.
keep
Go on
my-
a cruise.
Oh, and you're gonna have
Maybe they go to Cleveland.
Yeah, maybe there's,
cruise to the
simple.
Bantu Wind.
when did Disneyland open? They could go to Disneyland.
Maybe the next movie will be their honeymoon.
Oh, maybe.
Like maybe they go to like
Oh,
Niagara
wow.
Falls and they,
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
I'd watch
you
that.
think that's what they say on his wedding night. Whatever you do, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's
Lights off.
I don't know. Maybe it's the only time you can look at it. Finally, Marion, go look at it. It is the 50s.
It's not like there are fewer places on him that hurt now. You know, he was a young man when he was complaining about
That's
just
true.
being a giant
Yeah.
ache. He
Yeah.
was like in his 80s.
She lovingly kisses his fingers, and he's like, "Ow, it's my
What are you doing?"
arthritis." You know, I had my hip replaced.
I like the movie. I didn't hate it this time.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. I would possibly watch it again if it was on television. But
bold words.
I think for this one, this is compared to the previous 3. This is the one for me that has too many moments that take me out of the film and make me realize I'm watching a film rather than experiencing a sort of story. So there's things like just silly little things, like when they're driving along and the ants splat onto the camera. Just silly little things like that, and just things that don't seem grounded in reality, too far-fetched, unlikely scenarios, and like the jump off with the duck truck onto the tree and things like that. It's just, I mean, I remember distinctly in the 80s going to see a James Bond film, and there was a man behind us in the cinema, and he made my dad furious because every time Bond did something, the bloke would say, "Oh, as if." It's not a documentary. And so, I'm not that guy.
Right.
But at the same time, there has to be some sort of, especially with Indiana Jones movies that do feel like they're grounded in some sort of reality, even if we're dealing with the supernatural. Mm-hmm. It's just the things in this movie that take me out of it. There's some ropey CGI. Okay, it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And then there's Mutt with the monkeys. I watched it again, and I just like, you could cut this entire scene, and it would absolutely have no bearing on the movie whatsoever.
Make it a little shorter too.
So there's too many of that, and then there's this scene where he goes into an office and gets a book out of a drawer, and we don't even know what it means.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Oh, I actually wanted to. This is my last chance to complain about the cinematography, because when they're back on the mountain and stuff, there's within this 1 minute, there are shots of them up there where it fully looks like they are outside. I don't know whether they are or not. Like, it could have just been a very well rendered CGI background or something, but it looks like they're outside. They're on location. They're in the sun. But then there are other shots within the same moment, the same minute, where it's got that kind of glowy haze to it that all of it has, that makes it so you can't tell if it's real or not. So it all looks fake. And I haven't seen his new, his West Side Story, but from the previews, it just looks like that's the guy's, I forget, I'm spacing on his name right now, the cinematographer, but that's just his look, this kind of glowy, fakey look, even of real things. And it's infuriating to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's in the grading of it as well, where it just seems to be graded with specific color palettes.
Yeah. It's kind of,
that wash over everything. It looks very odd.
Right. It's frustrating to me. And I wanted to complain about it one more time.
Well, I mean, they're beautiful shots, but you can't sacrifice sort of a natural chronology.
Yeah, and
if you're
they keep saying
like, I watch these movies. I'll say I'm one of the dumbest people watching movies, and I just kind of go in and go, "Whoa, look!" And it's like if I'm noticing that it's always either 4:45 p.m. or 5:45 a.m.
Yeah,
it's just if I'm noticing that, you've done it way too much.
Yeah, and what's infuriating is they keep saying, "Oh, he was trying to emulate Doug Slocum from Raiders and everything and stuff." I'm like, he was. He did an absolutely horrible job of emulating. That doesn't look anything like it.
He seems to have emulated Michael Bay.
Yeah. Oh my God, it is Michael Bay. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it's just like a weird.
Everything's orange and teal.
Orange and teal, and also just kind of like fuzzy in a way that your brain has gotten used to. Like, oh, there's something CGI going on because there's a little bit fuzziness happening. Like it's like your brain is picking it up as fake, even when maybe it's real sometimes.
Is maybe that because we're watching it on like ultra high definition when this film was pre that time?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
know.
It was kind of in that period between the end of film and the beginning of digital, and I don't know what they shot it on. I assume perhaps Jamie Benning can tell us.
I think Spielberg is pretty staunchly all film, or at least he was.
Oh, maybe
at least 10 or 15.
Doesn't
years
look
ago.
like it though, does it? It looks digital.
Yeah,
it looks like there's something in the process that's just made it fake.
Maybe he finally gave up. They beat him down. Well, Stephen, thank you for being here for minute 115.
Yeah, pleasure. I have one more thing to say to you.
Oh, please do.
When wearing boxer shorts, I pull the waistband down. I don't pee through the hole.
Oh, okay.
Yes!
Good to know. I have to say, for anyone who doesn't know, we were discussing this on our bonus show, Anything Goes, on Patreon, patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute. I'm not my point is, I'm not planting my flag one way or the other. I use the hash. I use the my flag is planted the way I plant it. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think that anybody's wrong for planting their flag any other way. Both are totally reasonable. It's whatever your muscle memory does right for you and stuff. We're all brothers in urination, and God bless us all. Thank you.
God bless us. The only thing I don't do is remove my trousers fully.
Right, your pants are
I'm not that guy.
while you're peeing.
This is the culmination of 5 years of recording Crystal Skull.
Yeah. This is what we've learned.
This is the finial.
I think it's a more important debate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just know who has time.
You know what?
I'm just always sitting there like, oh, do.
That's every. You know what? You've gotten in my head, Gerry, because every time I pee now, I in the back of my head, I'm thinking this is really easy. I didn't even think about it, but I could understand somebody saying, "Oh, flaps of fabric that you got to get out of the way and stuff." It's a whole thing, but it's really a simple thing that I'm just very used to. And I would like the four of us here. We're all guys, gentlemen. Anybody out in the audience who's listening, try the opposite way just for like a day and see how it goes. What you're not used to, see if you can. Is it a nightmare? Is it much easier to get used to than you would have expected? Just try another perspective. Walk in another guy's underpants
for a whole day.
I'll send you the laundry bill.
I was gonna say,
how many times you pee 7 or 8 times per hour, Gerry. So maybe give it 2 or 3 times.
The next day I'm gonna take the day off. It's just gonna be
Carpal tunnel syndrome.
Yeah, just do that.
Sincere apologies to all the listeners who aren't affected by this terrible affliction.
Sorry. You brought it up, Stephen. Get out
not originally, I didn't.
That's true. That's true. But Stephen,
yes.
Is there anything you'd like to plug? Any place where people can find you? What are you up to in the world?
Well, I run a theatre company called Illyria, and if anybody's in the UK or is visiting the UK this year, we're touring across the whole of the UK, including Scotland, Wales, England, Northern Ireland, and also to the Netherlands, if you have any listeners in the Netherlands. Wow. So look us up. We are Illyria, which is ILLYRIA.co.uk, and we're doing A Midsummer Night's Dream, Peter Pan, and The Pirates of Penzance this year.
Oh, fantastic.
Something for everyone.
Nice. Sala will be there in spirit with your Gilbert and Sullivan. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, please find Stephen. Check that out. Check us out. You can check us out. You know about the Listeners Crusade, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listeners Crusade on Facebook. We are on Twitter. I keep meaning to write down the actual things because I forget what they are. It's like at Indiana Jones Min or something, on Twitter and Instagram. And you can join the aforementioned patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute to support the show and get advanced access to these shows and our bonus show, Anything Goes, where we talk about all sorts of crazy stuff that's probably your other favorite stuff, like Star Wars and E.T. and Close Encounters and Jaws and all the rest of it. Check that all out, and please check us out next week for minute 116 of Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Dad.
Dad.
Dad?
Dad?
Jones!
Jones?